Hello, I'm Richard. Welcome back to my channel over and over and over again, the Positive Arsenal channel. This is the pre-Chelsea warm-up show. Hi there, my name's Richard. Welcome back to my channel over and over and over again, the Positive Arsenal channel. First of all, everyone had a good Christmas yesterday. I know it may be slightly different for a few people with all the stuff that's going on, but I hope you all had a good day anyway. And let's hope that later on this evening that Arsenal can cheer us all up a bit more by putting in a good performance. So we're going to be looking ahead to that game. There were meant to be a couple of other people joining me, but unfortunately, due to one reason or another, they wasn't able to. But I have got my regular guest coming back to talk about this game, talk about a few memories from past games against Chelsea. He is, of course, the one and only Melvyn Marks. How you doing, mate? You all right?
Yeah, thanks, Richard. Hope you had a good Christmas as well. Thanks for having me on this channel. I do enjoy it. You had a good Christmas, yeah? Good day yesterday?
Yeah, no, it was good. Yeah, I mean, pretty quiet, really. Not a lot going on, but it was good to see a few people that you don't normally see that often, and get about and chill for a bit as well. A few days off work for everyone, which is nice. And I say, hopefully, the football's not going to ruin it later for us, because there's been a history of that recently, of Arsenal ruining the weekend. So let's hope that this is going to be different for a change. Let's hope so. So yeah, I mean, basically, what I want to do, first of all, I mean, I know, so we were due to have a Chelsea fan coming on. He still might be able to make it. He's got a few problems at his end. If he can come on, then we'll get him on. And if he doesn't manage to sort his issues out in time, then we'll just crack on. Andrew was supposed to be coming on as well, but unfortunately he's not well today, so he's unable to make it. But let's hope he gets better soon, and I'm sure he'll be back on the channel again before too long. So Melvyn, I really wanted to start with. I know I don't think we had the chance to really talk about the Man City game the other night. In the cup, which was another pretty disastrous evening, really, wasn't it? I mean, what did you make of that particular performance?
It was a game of 8 halves, wasn't it, really? Because it started off, they were all over us, scored early on, bad mistakes by El Neni, I thought, and the keeper and the centre half. And then they just toyed with us for about 20 minutes. It really was embarrassing to be an Arsenal supporter to watch that. Then we seemed to stem the flow a little bit, had a couple of chances. When we got the equaliser, again, that's another part of the game. We seemed to kick on from there and looked like, with a bit of luck, we could have nicked something. But once that goalkeeper made the mistake, it seems the shoulders seemed to drop, and it was a shame because it was a shame. And then the third goal, it was offside. I didn't realise it straight away, but it was offside. But I think we were probably going to get beat anyway. And the fourth goal, really, you had the two, Mustafi and Kolasinac. They might as well be having a cup of tea in the box, really, for what they did. They did absolutely nothing. It's like their mind was on, do I wrap the presents tonight or shall I wait till tomorrow morning? It was really that bad. I mean, the gaps in our defence for that goal. I mean, there were two City players challenging each other for the ball in the 6-yard box. Without an Arsenal player near him, it beggars belief. So I think it was very disappointing. It was the same usual suspects, if you like, of letting us down, and usual suspects which were really doing the business. I mean, Martinelli, before he got injured, was superb. Absolutely. You forget how, all right, we knew he was good, but you forget how good he really was. And also, just a question mark, again, everyone's knocking him, but that doesn't stop me from knocking him, manager. I was screaming, why bring Martinelli on for the second half? The kid hasn't played for a long, long time. He hasn't played a full game for I don't know when. Let him play 45 minutes or whatever. He's got a bad kick. Just take him off. It's not the be-all and end-all. I don't see the upside or stroke downside of bringing him on. Risk reward was ridiculous. And that is bad management, in my opinion. He went off after a few minutes because it was ridiculous in the second half, and I'm happy he did. Very happy. We've got to protect our young players.
Do you not feel there's a little bit of desperation on Arteta's part, because he was the only player in that first half who was really giving us hope? He set up the goal. He was constantly pressing Man City. He was causing them problems. And then was it not desperation? Arteta thought, without him on the pitch, we've got a lot less chance of winning this game. And he just felt.
I agree.
Needed. And he shouldn't have come out for the second half. I was amazed when he did.
I agree it was desperation. You don't gamble with a young guy's future against the game you may or may not win. There are very few games that are that important, and this wasn't one of them, I'm afraid.
No, definitely not. I do feel that was a. Hopefully, it's not actually backfired, because it does appear as though he may well be fit for today, to play a part in some, whether he starts or whether he's on the bench. So let's hope that's the case, because yeah, I agree that was a stupid decision. I was literally shocked when he came out for the second half, because he looked quite a bad injury, and I know sometimes an impact injury like that can be worse than what it is, and after a little while it settles down and you're all right. But it wasn't worth the risk, I agree. But he was our only hope in that first half, actually, the way that he played. And he did remind me, I don't know what you think, he actually reminds me quite a lot of Alexis Sanchez, the way he chases down, the way, and he's got that extra quality, and he's the sort of player that can potentially going to be able to win us some games on his own almost. He's just going to give us that spark that we need, that we've lacked. He's going to be able to do it himself sometimes. And, I think he is going to be an important player over the second half of the season. So we do need to make sure he's fit to play, because otherwise it's going to be a Thomas Partey situation again, isn't it? Where he rushed him back from injury when he wasn't ready. That backfired, and now we've lost him for a while. And same with Aubameyang. Aubameyang's got an injury at the moment. Is he going to rush him back today when maybe he's not quite ready? These are things that, again, out of desperation, because they're our key players, aren't they, really? Partey, Aubameyang and Martinelli, for me, certainly moving us forward in the attacking half of the pitch. They're our three key players, and that's why I think he's tempted to rush them back, but it's backfired once. It doesn't do it again. But I mean, for me, I thought the Man City game, in a way, summed up the season so far. Every single mistake we made was punished. They were terrible mistakes, let's be honest, but it was mistakes that we made. It wasn't that Man City played some amazing football and were much better than us. We made some terrible mistakes, got punished, and that was where the goals came from. And unfortunately, we still didn't create enough, did we? In the first half, one or two things from Martinelli that he created, and that was it. The second half, you never felt we were going to get another goal, really. I think there was one chance we had in the second half. That was it, really. And it's not enough, is it?
Not at all. You're playing the wrong.
Has anyone been as impactful this year in 45 minutes? Well, no, probably not, because I thought that first half, you could see what he's going to give us. And unfortunately, I say he couldn't. To me, though, he was going to run himself into the ground anyway, because he was literally chasing everything. He's not played for about 8-9 months. And there he was out there chasing things. And people that have been playing regularly should be up to the pace of the game, weren't bothered. Pepe's not bothered when he came on. And you know what I mean? I don't know. There's a few problems going on. Have a great Christmas. Thanks, mate. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Mark. One other good point was seeing Smith Rowe come on. And just, again, he looked a level above. All right, he may not be as strong as the others yet, untested, but ability-wise and positivity-wise, he looked a cut above anybody else. He really did. It was nice to see someone play on the half turn, get the ball straight away, and know what they're going to do, not just standing there and waiting for something to happen. Yeah. And I love to see that in a player in a position that we need it. And also, Balogun, haven't seen a lot of him. None of us have really. But I thought when he came on, he couldn't have done any better. In fact, once he was crying out for the ball. We played alongside him. He ran in the channel from Kolasinac. And Kolasinac then gave it on the wing. I'm thinking, there our problem lies, gentlemen, I think. Maybe ladies and gentlemen, that's where our problem lies.
Totally agree. So, I mean, it is the one little bit of hope, I suppose, that we've got is some of these young players, if they are going to be given minutes in the team, then I'm sure that they're going to make an impact, because they've already started to make impact in the little time that they've had on the pitch. Balogun, as you said, Smith Rowe as well. Surely they've got to be given an opportunity in a Premier League game, whether it's today or whether it's one of the next two games. I'm sure we're going to see a lot more of those two guys in particular. I don't think there's any choice now. I think he's got to start putting them in and giving them more time on the pitch, because they are players, as you said, that can offer us something different that we lack in when it's the usual team that's playing. They just don't have the same abilities that them two guys do. And yes, they haven't got the experience yet, and we don't know, are they going to be able to produce 10, 11, 12 games in a row? We don't know. But he's got to give them a chance now. Surely their time is now, because if it's not now, it's never going to be any time, is it? Because let's face it, that's the situation that we're in. Definitely. And with Martinelli as well, you've got three players there that could end up saving Arteta his job if he uses them right, and if he picks them, they could be the 3 players that save his job, because they're the ones that's got the potential to lift us out of this kind of rut that we're in. Martin, he couldn't get he couldn't get to your Christmas dinner. No, well,
I mean, not only could he save his job, it might save Arsenal 50 million. Like Smith Rowe, for example, could save them 50 million there to get another midfielder. It could save us a lot of money in having to buy another centre forward, because at the moment, in all due respect, we haven't got a centre forward. So it's a no-brainer. And you're saying, and rightly so, they may not give us 10 or 11 great games in a row. Richard, the others aren't giving us 1 game in a row.
No,
so if they give us 4 or 5, I'm happy with that. I'm sure they could do better than that.
Yeah. I mean, you say we haven't got a centre forward. I mean, Balogun is a centre forward, isn't he? He's a proper centre
forward.
That's
what I'm saying. Not playing at the moment. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah,
That's why you could give Balogun a chance.
But you see, I can see, unfortunately, the way our club's been run, we've got Smith Rowe and Balogun, who are 2 players in positions that we don't have regular first-team players in. What we'll do in January or at the end of the season, we'll end up spending 50, 60 million on buying players in those positions. We've got these 2 guys already there, ready to play. Yeah, and
that's my point.
Yeah, it does seem absolutely ridiculous.
Or as I would say, baggy trousers, madness.
Yeah, no, exactly. It is mad. It does sum up the way this club's been run, actually, and it's why we are now getting the result of that, aren't we? With the results on the pitch that we've suffered over the last couple of years, actually, when you look at how the decline has really, really come home very quickly for us, which sees us, well, like we said before we come on here, we could potentially be in the bottom 3 after the next 3 games, potentially, if we don't get results and other teams do. We could be in the bottom 3. And I mean, I've never ever seen us in the bottom 3 this far into a season before. I think the season that we lost 8-2 to Man United, I think we were in the bottom 3 briefly after that game, and then we won a couple of games, and that was that. But for us to be this low this long in the season is just unbelievable. I just cannot get my head around it at all. But anyway, I mean, we can we'll look at today's game a little bit more later on. What I want to do is go into our archives of history, because I know you've got even more archives than me, which is nice to hear. So if we start with this little section here, which is going to be good, I'm sure. I mean, obviously, we've played Chelsea a lot over the years. I mean, certainly in recent years, they've been in the Premier League since the start, and I think they've only had 1 season out of the top flight since the sort of late 1970s. So we've played them quite a lot of times. So there's no doubt you've got a lot of memories of games against Chelsea, as indeed have I. So if I start with you, Melvyn, what ones stick in your mind the most, previous meetings against Chelsea?
There's quite a few. I won't bore you all with them. Some are not as good for Arsenal supporters as us. I've got news for you. The first one wasn't a great one. Highbury, 1964. In March, we played them and we got beat 4-2. And Bobby Tamblyn scored all 4 goals. And he played on the left wing, this geezer. They had a terrific team then, Chelsea. They had the Osgoods, as I say, Tamblyn, Bonetti in goal, Shillito right back, McCready in play. All these names are very, very, very good footballers. And something went wrong there somewhere. I think the manager was Tommy Docherty, and he let a lot go. I think there was an aggravation with the drinking, late night drinking and all that. It might have been, rumours were flying around, and he broke up a very, very, very good team. I'm glad he did, because we got one of the better players, one of the best players we've ever had because of that. But we're going to that later. So that was 4-2. That was my. Wasn't very happy about that game. It was horrible. Now, from 1960 to 1966, we played Chelsea 12 times. And we only beat them once, drew 1, and they beat us 10 times. They were a very good team, really, really good, but never quite were good enough to, for whatever reason, win the title. Another one I went to. There's only one guy in my year at school that supported the Arsenal. Strangely enough, it's all where I live, all West Ham supporters and Spurs supporters. So I went. Johnny No Mates Melvyn went away to watch Chelsea Arsenal. It was 1967. And I walked into Chelsea, never been there before, didn't know what I was doing. And I heard this cheer. All these Arsenal supporters kept coming in. And then it was all the Chelsea mob coming. And I was Brighton, to say the least. I did, it was in the. I didn't realise I was in the shed. I was in the shed by myself. Anyway, that was not very happy. Not a great game either. We lost 2-1, and a guy called Alan Birchnell was playing. He came from Sheffield United. He scored 2 very good goals, but didn't think they were good at the time. Also, I went to Chelsea when we got beat. It's horrible. This getting beat 2-1 in August, at the beginning of the season. They beat us 2-1 Chelsea like they used to do at Stamford Bridge. And John Hollins played for Chelsea and scored a great goal. And that goal was so good, it kept getting played on the big match every Sunday. It was the opening. Remember that one that scored? I think he hit the bar, comes back and goes in again, I think. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Brilliant goal by John Hollins. I mean, he was in midfield, he was a dynamo in midfield. And so that's another one. But also, I went to the FA Cup when we drew 2-2 in 1973. Chelsea were doing up their ground then. And we were sitting in some funny stand behind the goal. It was like a big house, it looked like. Really strange, little small, tall, I don't know what. Anyway, we had to walk past these porter cabins, me and my uncle, who's going to be uncle. And you could hear the footballers throwing the ball against the porter cabins. We walked right along the touchline to get to our seat, went behind the goal and up, and it was a great game. Osgood scored the first goal, and brilliant goal. And that game was such a good goal, they used that on the big match. When he hit the ball, it came back to him out on the edge of the box. He smashed it back in again past Wilson. Anyway, we got 2 goals. Ball from a header and Kennedy or George, and then they nicked one near the end. So we got them back for the replay. What's famous about the replay, Richard?
What year was that? You said 1973.
Yeah, we drew away 2-2, and the home tie. We got the replay was quite a famous situation.
That's interesting. I've probably heard about it. It doesn't bring to me mind actually.
Well, I was there. It was quite. Shall I tell you?
Was it played in the afternoon on a midweek?
No, that was Derby. A couple of years before that, because of the power.
There was a game, a replay that was played midweek, and a lot of people bumped up and stuff like that to go.
That's right. Yeah.
The only thing I can think of possibly was it one of the biggest crowds at Highbury from post-war or something like that? Because I know we had a few big.
It was something that happened on the pitch, and it really got frowned upon at the time, but we didn't care. We were Arsenal. Chelsea went 1-0 up. Looked like we're going, it was a fantastic atmosphere. Night game, but the atmosphere is obviously very, very good. Yeah. And then Geordie Armstrong got brought down in the box, and the referee gave a free kick outside the box, and the linesman just happened to move his flag. And the Arsenal player saw that. They went up to the linesman, went back to the referee. The referee weren't having it. And then Frank McClinton got hold of the referee and took him to the linesman. Took him. Really? The linesman had a chat and the referee gave a penalty. And that was, can you imagine, frowned upon big time, of a football actually taking a referee to a linesman. Gave the penalty, we scored, and then we got the winner, Kennedy. I think it was a Kennedy header to make it 2-1, and through we went. So that was very good. So that was an excellent one. Also, I don't know if you went to the game, 1991, when we won the league away at Chelsea, the only defeat of the season. That was a horrible, horrible game. I've been very intimidated at Stamford Bridge, that game. I think we only had one centre-half standing at the end of the game. I think
Michael Thomas went off. Was it Michael Thomas dropped into centre-back, I think?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. And they were 2-0 up, and then Smith got one near the end to make it 2-1. But we never looked like anything, to be honest with you. No. That was a horrible game, but it's a shame. That was
freezing as well. When it was freezing that day, I remember it had been snowing. I think all week. Horrible. It was absolutely freezing, and that was in the middle of all them FA Cup replays against Leeds, wasn't it? When we had to play Leeds about 4 times, and that was during all of that. And I think our squad was stretched. It wasn't like now when you rested players in the FA Cup. We just played a full strength team every game. And I think that caught up with us that game. We had a couple of injuries, and that was our only defeat, which was disappointing, actually, to say the least. Because imagine if we had gone through that season unbeaten back then in '91, that would have just been incredible, wouldn't it?
Very good.
I've got a couple of good memories. Oh, that's the wrong one. Where's it gone? Up here, sorry. The Winterburn Screamer, at Stamford Bridge, and then obviously Carnew's hat-trick as well. I mean, that was a great day, that, wasn't it? With 2-0 down.
That was mental.
And, Also, as well, there was a Silvino goal at Stamford Bridge as well, a bit similar to the Winterburn one actually. When he
similar, very similar, same goal, wasn't it? Same
yeah,
goal.
in the same end. Yeah, that was a 2-2 draw. That one. I mean, Winterburn's one we won 3-2 that game. That was a winner, but the Silvino one was a 2-2 draw. That was a great goal as well, actually, from a left back. Down there. It was new for Christmas, Russ. Yeah, Santa was good to me. He got me a nice new Arsenal jacket. So yeah, I'm glad you like it, and Mark likes it as well, which is good. So, yeah. Santa knows what to get me sometimes, you know.
All right, what about my badge I got from the Arsenal? No,
no
one's mentioned that.
It's a nice badge as well.
I'm never going to see. This is never going out my sight. This one, I'm telling you, it's so good.
Yeah, no, it's good. Hopefully, it'll bring some luck. I'm hoping all the new stuff brings us luck today and moving forward.
Yeah.
But I mean, Russ has actually mentioned the Silvino screamer as well. That was a great goal. I think Henry scored in that. I think we were 2-0 down in that game as well, wasn't we? I think Henry scored and then Silvino smashed that one in.
I think it's like one of the Chelsea guys. I think scored from a very close range header. I think
was that Dan Petrescu? Was that the one that Dan Petrescu?
That's it, Dan Petrescu. He scored, I think, in that game.
Yeah. That was a good game. That 2-2. There's quite a few good games against Chelsea, mainly at Stamford Bridge actually. And Russ is thinking you got a new dressing gown. He said.
No, it's just the top. Just the top. Tracksuit top, or kind of.
Yeah, well, you know, I suppose you could understand Russ thinking it might have been a dressing gown, but anyway. So yeah, I mean, for me, my first ever trip to Stamford Bridge, fair enough, wasn't to watch Arsenal. It was 1982, and a mate of mine at school was a Chelsea fan, and I didn't have, like yourself, there wasn't many Arsenal fans in my year at school. It was mostly West Ham. Obviously, being in from Essex, it's all West Ham in it. So anyway, he was a Chelsea fan, my best mate at school, and I wanted him to come to Arsenal with me because my mum was being a little bit funny about me going to midweek games at Highbury on my own and stuff like that. You know, I was about like 11 or 12 years old. So I sort of said to me, mate, look, come to Arsenal with me. And what I had to do was go and watch Chelsea with him first. So I'd never been to Chelsea before, and it just so turned out they were playing Leeds. Now this was 1982. Now Chelsea and Leeds have always had a bit of a
history,
shall we say, history? Yeah. So we went in the shed end. We were standing at the back of the shed end, and suddenly we realised that all wasn't well, shall we say? And literally before kickoff, there were Leeds fans everywhere, and then it kicked off everywhere. And that was the first time I'd actually really experienced football violence inside a stadium. You know, you'd seen bits and pieces outside, but never in the ground before. And that was the first time I'd ever been to Stamford Bridge. Anyway, and my mate turned around to me and said, "Yeah, I'll definitely come Arsenal with you." And he became an Arsenal fan. So, but that was quite good. And I think the following year, Arsenal played Chelsea in a friendly. I think it was Mickey Droy's testimonial. That was at Stamford Bridge as well. And that was a night game. And Tony Adams played. It was one of his first games in the first team. And it was only a friendly. There was quite a big crowd in. And literally, I've never seen violence before at a friendly, but there was that night. And it was just... it was coming out of the train station everywhere. It was kicking off everywhere. And this was a friendly, but Arsenal and Chelsea hadn't played each other for a while then, because Chelsea are in the second division, and I think that maybe there was a few of the old school hooligans wanted to get involved again because they hadn't played each other for a while, and that was quite an eventful friendly. And Chelsea actually won that game 2-1. I think Tony Adams might have scored actually. I'm not sure, but yeah. So that was,
he was an Arsenal supporter. Mickey Droy.
That might be why he chose to play against us then for that friendly match.
Yeah, when he wasn't playing, some games I used to sit in front of me.
Did he?
Not many games, but a few games, very few. He used to sit in front. I thought, what's he doing here? And a bit of Arsenal score, I bet someone told me, yeah.
Well, that would make sense, wouldn't it? He's picking Arsenal as his opposition for his testimonial. That would make sense, I suppose. But
yeah,
and it did get a big crowd in. I know there was a big crowd in that night, and I say it was quite lively. And I'm sure Chelsea won 2-1, and that was the first time I'd seen Arsenal play at Stamford Bridge. And then, of course, they got promoted up to the Premier League a couple of years later, and we've played them sort of regularly since. Really, I mean, most of the good memories, as people have put in the chat as well, it seems to have come from the away games at Stamford Bridge. That seems to be where most of the great games have been back down the years. There's not been so many at home that spring to my mind. Actually, but there was one where I know we lost 1-0 once. John Bumstead scored, 1990, I think it was. They just got promoted back after their relegation in sort of late 1980s. Chelsea took over the clock end that day, and that was I just remember it for that really when because we had the new executive boxes had gone up that season, and that was one of the first times there'd been that. I think the whole end was taken up by away fans that day because I know we were on the North Bank, which was unusual. And I know Chelsea won that game 1-0. And obviously in recent years they've had a little bit of a hoodoo over us, I guess, because typically they've had better teams than us over the last few years, haven't they? So and of course last year's game, what I wanted to actually say about that was, if you remember last year's home game with Chelsea at Christmas was Arteta's first home game, wasn't it?
We deserved more than we deserved more than we got.
No, we definitely did. But what struck me about that game, and it maybe brought it home a little bit from the other night's game, what we did in that Chelsea game last year was we pressed them so early, and we pressed them high up the pitch, and we really showed energy. And we ran out of steam in the second half in the end, and it was impossible. It's impossible to keep that going. But the other night, the only player doing that was Martinelli. No, all that's gone. That pressing that we did in that Chelsea game, the Man United game as well, which was a few days after, those two games, we really pressed high up the pitch, and you thought this was going to be the way we're going to play under Arteta. And if that was the case, we would be successful. But all that stopped now. This season in particular, we don't press at all. That I've seen press for months, and that was in the first half the other night. He was the only one doing it, and it did inspire a few others to start doing it. When he was doing it, chasing people down, you suddenly got a couple of others were doing it. Lacazette started doing it a little bit. A couple of others did. And it's, why isn't Arteta getting them ready to do that before the game? Go out and press, because it showed what we can do. It showed what we could do in this game last season, and I don't know why we've stopped doing it. There's something gone on there.
Something. It's true. You're right what you say. I totally agree. We couldn't do it, but we should have been a fitter team now, because we weren't fit. I don't think when he took over as much as we could have been. But and I'm not never been. Unless he is a great footballer to watch, Ozil. But I'm not his biggest fan, if that makes sense, right? Because I think he could have done things a bit better. But I thought, when he got dropped from the team, Ozil, I genuinely thought because he wasn't pressing, right? I thought, well, fair enough. If we get results, because Ozil don't play, but we can still get results because the others are pressing. But once the rest of the team don't press like Ozil didn't used to press, there's no argument for not playing. Even though I'm not a fan, you understand what I'm saying? It doesn't make it's double. I'm doubling down now. I mean, you can't say Ozil's no good because he can't hit a pass, or he can't beat a man, or he can't think of something. You can have a go at him because his attitude, he don't press. But if we're not using, if no one else is doing it, then just get on with it. Pick it.
Yeah. No. And funny enough, I actually felt that certainly in the early part under Arteta, when Ozil was playing, that he was starting to do that a little bit. Well, it's not his natural game.
He was.
It didn't suit him, and he was trying to do it because he'd been told to do it. You could see he was trying to do it. And sometimes you'd see him back in a left-back position, chasing back and doing his defensive work. And you're thinking, he's wasted there, because even if he gets the ball in the left-back position, what's he meant to do? Do you know what I mean? He needs to be further up the pitch. But anyway, that's what he was told to do. And he was doing it to a certain extent. It's not his natural game, obviously. But yeah, I agree. If no one else is pressing, you might as well put Ozil in the team, because at least he's going to give us some quality when he gets the ball. At the moment, we're not pressing or got any quality when we've got the ball. So, it seems crazy. But anyway, I mean, that's a slightly different subject, I suppose. But yes, I mean, there has been, I'd say most of my personal memories of playing Chelsea, best memories have been away from home, actually, as opposed to at home. We've suffered a few heavy defeats, actually, recently, haven't we? I remember they won 4-1 one year, Chelsea, didn't they? Towards the end of a season, maybe 10 years ago or something like that. I think Bentner scored for us, actually. That's how long ago it was. I think the following season they won 3-0 as well. So, but of course at Stamford Bridge we've had some good wins. That Robin van Persie hat-trick was a great game, wasn't it?
Oh, phenomenal game! What a game! And Walcott got a screamer as well, didn't he? When he fell over and got up.
Walcott generally scored against Chelsea quite a lot for us.
First goal was against Chelsea, wasn't it? First goal in the League Cup final.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and he had quite a decent scoring record for us. I remember there was a game we won 3-1 over Christmas when Fabregas scored. Walcott scored in that game as well. I think we were top of the league at the time. Maybe 2.
We go 3-0 up that game. We went 3-0 up, didn't we?
Yeah.
We blitzed them in the first half.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, and I said Walcott. I think Walcott scored the third goal, and then they got one back near the end. I think John Terry might have scored from a free kick or something, like he tended to do against us. But yeah, Walcott scored. I think it was the third goal. Yeah, and we absolutely smashed them that day. I think they went on to win the league that year, and we were top at that time, but that just And of course, it was one, wasn't it? Do you remember maybe 3 or 4 years ago when again we were 3-0 up at half time? When Sanchez and Ozil absolutely ripped them to bits in that first half. Do you remember that? And then they went to
yeah, right. When Ozil smashed the ball into the ground to get the third.
Yeah.
Fabulous. That first half was amazing. That was.
Didn't Walcott score in that game as well? I think he might have done.
He got the one. Yeah, he got one where we were not messing around. We were playing it around on the left. Got to the right. Someone crossed it, and he was just running in.
Yeah, it was
Bellerin for a couple of yards. It was fabulous. Nice bit of football, actually.
Yeah, no, that was a great performance as well. That, and of course Chelsea again went on to win the league that year, because he changed the system, didn't he? After that, it was Conte, wasn't it?
That was the new Conte, wasn't it? Was that Conte?
Yeah, and he changed the system, didn't he? After we smashed him, he changed to the 3 at the back, and they went and won the league. So that was a good memory. That was a great performance that from Arsenal. Really, really good. So 3-0 up in the first half, and that's for me summed up Ozil and Sanchez, how they worked together that in that first half. We did it against Manchester United as well, didn't we? When we won 3-0.
Right, yeah, that was also 3 goals, wasn't it?
And that was 3 early goals, and those two again were brilliant. And I think Ozil's never been quite the same since Sanchez kind of lost his head really and wanted to leave, and eventually went. And I don't think Ozil was ever the same again after that. But I suppose it is what it is really. But so we have had a couple of decent memories at home games against Chelsea. Just not so recent. Of course, it was that semi-final, wasn't it, in the League Cup a couple of years ago when Xhaka scored the winner when we were 1-0 down and we came back to win that game. That was a good performance against Chelsea, wasn't it? When I think they scored an own goal, actually, I think, before. They were 1-0 up, then they scored an own goal, and then Xhaka scored the winner to take us to Wembley. Of course, we lost the final against Man City, but that was another decent night against Chelsea. So there has been a few, but it's
not many.
No, not in recent years. At the Emirates, they've got a good record at the Emirates, Chelsea, actually.
One of the most disappointing nights against Chelsea was the semi-final of the European Cup, wasn't it? Champions League.
Yeah, it was.
That was so disappointing. I didn't think we deserved to lose that, to be honest with you. Thought we'd done the hard work at Stamford Bridge, gone back, went 1-0 up, and then all of a sudden it just went to pieces. Was it Philip, the left back? Is it Phillips? What's his name? Bridges got the winner.
Wayne Bridge, yeah.
Wayne Bridge, yeah, he got the winner, and it was once they scored the second goal away from home, then we had to score 2. It won't go happen last minute. But that was so disappointing. So disappointing, that game.
Yeah, we could. Obviously, that was the invincible season, wasn't it? So we could potentially have won the Champions League that year, because wasn't it Monaco? No, Porto and Monaco in the final, wasn't it?
We might have done it. You don't know. We might have done it. That was so disappointing.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, anyway, I mean,
not easy being an Arsenal supporter, is it?
At half time, when we were 1-0 up, I think Reyes had scored actually in that game.
That's it, Reyes was right.
Didn't he, as well, that season when he first came? And then, the second half, the away goals rule in the European competitions is crazy. And as soon as Chelsea scored that second goal, it killed the game, didn't it? Because there was about 5 minutes to go. We needed 2 goals, and that was it. And the atmosphere that night, wasn't it? When that second goal went in, it was just that was horrible. I've forgotten about that one, but that was one of the most disappointing nights actually ever.
That was a bad one, Richard. Come on, that was a bad one.
It was a bad one, because that was the opportunity that we had to possibly go on and win that trophy that we've never won, and that hit hard. And of course, Chelsea ended up losing the semi-final as well, didn't they? Was it Monaco beat them in the semi-final? I think it was.
I think it was. Yeah.
I'm sure.
I think the guy that scored against Chelsea was the guy that finished up playing for a bit. I think a Spaniard up front. They had very good. I can't remember his name, but that was so disappointing. It's not as if they were beating us, Chelsea, and they were all over us. It was we had the game. We had the game, didn't we? It was there. Yeah. It was for us to lose, and we lost it.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. I think Lampard scored our equaliser at Highbury that night. I think it was Lampard, wasn't it, that scored actually.
Let's move on.
Yeah. You brought it up.
Sorry.
But yeah, no, that was probably the worst actually memory that I've got of Chelsea. Now you brought it up, because that was very, very disappointing, wasn't it? Now we're going to move on to a section that usually there's not that many players that we can feature, but this particular day there's absolutely hundreds of them that have done this. I mean, I was going through this yesterday briefly, and literally there is so many players that, certainly more in recent years, actually. There was a few from old times, but in recent years there's been a lot of movement between Arsenal and Chelsea, mainly one way. Again, as we talked about the other night with Man City, actually, most of them have gone from Arsenal to Chelsea, but there's been a few more last couple of years that we won't really dwell too much on. But here's one for Melvyn. I'm sure you might remember this dude who played for both clubs. You probably remember him playing. I don't, a bit before my time. Do you remember him?
Yeah, Tommy Baldwin.
Tommy Baldwin, yeah.
He was swap with George Graham.
That's right, he was, yeah. Yeah.
They asked him to give a few.
Do you remember him playing for Arsenal, mate?
Yeah, he was all right. He was decent. He was decent. But as I said, when he was breaking up a little bit with his team, Tommy Doherty, I couldn't believe we were buying George Graham. He was then, we bought him as a centre forward. Yeah. And he was very, very, very good in the air. He used to jump and just hang. And the reporters used to give him the nickname the Kangaroo Kid because of his ability of jumping and staying in the air. Quality striker of a ball. And then Don Howe and Bertie Mee, the manager, and Don Howe, the coach, they actually changed a few players' positions around. And they moved him back to set midfield. They did it with Frank McClintock. Frank McClintock was the old-fashioned winger, made him a sweeper. You know, and Peter Storey was a fullback, made him a midfield player. They did change a few players around, which is very, very clever. And we know what happened after that, didn't we? Absolutely superb.
Yeah, I mean, obviously George was another player that was on my list as well. I mean, I don't. Obviously, I'm slightly too young to remember him playing for Arsenal, but obviously he got some great memories of him as our manager. Brought some fantastic moments for us, some great times, and probably he's for me the one who brought Arsenal this modern era success that lasted 30 years, really. After he came, he kicked it all off, didn't he? He brought back a good team. He'll always be special. And I say, I don't remember him playing, unfortunately. I've seen clips of him. And like you said, he was good in the air, wasn't he? He didn't look that sort of player, did he? Because he was quite, he wasn't a sort of a tough physical player, but he was good in the air. A lot of goals he scored with his head. And but obviously, I remember as manager.
Watching him play, he was a great reader of the game. And when the ball got crossed, he read it so well, and his timing was so good. You know, he didn't have to smash the centre half to get to the ball. He was one step ahead of the centre half. You know. Yeah. And it was class. Stroller, they called him. Obviously, the way he used to like move around and flick it here and flick it there. You know, he was very, very good. You forget how good he was as a player because you remember he's like the manager, how good he was as a manager. But he was very, very good for Arsenal. So lucky we got him.
And he was obviously part of a great side as well, wasn't he? With a double side and the other. Another player we sort of mentioned before about being a manager, he also played for both clubs. You already mentioned him.
Tommy Doherty,
Doherty. Obviously, he had quite a good career as a player at Arsenal, actually. And I think he had more of a success he had more of a career at Arsenal as a player than he did at Chelsea as a player. But obviously, he's more noted to be manager of Chelsea, isn't he? He's more associated with Chelsea for that reason, I think, now. But I think he was at Arsenal for quite a while as a player, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
he was. Did you see him play?
I don't think I saw him play. I never saw him play. But obviously, speaking to my uncle, who used to go with my father, used to go. Yeah, they told me how good he was. Tough, he was. Real tough player. Yeah, real good player. I mean, years ago, for some reason, Scotland had so many good players. Came down south. They were phenomenal. I mean, any successful team had to have a Scottish player, at least one Scottish player in the squad. Because they were so good.
And they had that little bit of toughness about them as well, didn't they? That maybe some of the English players didn't. I mean, you look at the Liverpool side in the 70s, they were full of Scottish players, weren't they? Graham Souness and people like that were tough and good players. And like you said, all successful sides seem to have them. And I think maybe Tommy Doherty, I'd say I don't remember him as a player. I remember, wasn't he managed at Manchester United as well, Tommy Doherty?
Yeah, he won the cup for him.
Was it? Yeah, 77 was it?
And he took them down and he brought them back up.
Yeah. So
he turned Man United around, actually. They got relegated, but when he took over, they were a poor team anyway. They had good stars in it, but I hate to say this, but similar at the moment. No, they had good stars in it. They'd won the European Cup like 2 or 3 years before, and they were all getting old together. They never changed anything, United directors. And they were on the, they were not very good. They were under a lot of pressure. And he took, I think he might have taken over mid-season or something when it looked horrible. And they did go down. He couldn't save them. But I think he brought them back up and he changed the whole team. They became, the Gordon Hills of this world and Copples and people like that. And Pearson, forward line. He brought in players that he actually brought in a few second division players and they were fantastic. You know, he didn't. It's not like teams now, they spend loads of money. He didn't actually spend a lot of money getting together a completely new side, and they took the first division as the old Premiership. The first division was the old, like is now Premiership. He took it by storm. They hit the ground running in the top division. Got the two finals, two consecutive finals as well. No, he was a very good manager for United. Very good, very successful.
I mean, the first FA Cup final I can actually remember watching, I think, was 1976 when Man United lost to Southampton. He was manager, and that's
Bob Stokes scored the winner, didn't he? Bobby Stokes, wasn't it? Scored the winner.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. I love that game just because obviously Man United were massive favourites because Southampton were in the second division at the time.
That's right.
And I can just remember when Southampton won, that the feeling that I got from watching that as a kid was really what I think really got me into football. Realising that the underdogs can win. I didn't understand what Man United were or anything like that in them days. I just knew that Southampton were a little team that nobody thought would win. And then, of course, they scored that goal. It's a great goal as well.
Very good.
Offside. I think it was. I think VAR would have disallowed it actually, but yeah. So just that kind of got me into football really. That cup final, and I say obviously he was a manager then. Another player that you. I mean, I remember him playing for Arsenal. You might remember him when he played for Chelsea as well. We did mention him briefly before.
Johnny Hollins.
Yeah, John Hollins.
Great player. He actually played midfield he was up and down the field for Chelsea. He was superb. And then he came to us. He was a bit older, near the end of his career. But he had a good career with us, funnily enough. And he played at right back. And he was so good at right back. So good at right back. Quality. Yeah. He played, I've never seen a right back. He used to play, like, in my opinion, in triangles. Get the ball, give it, go. The whole time he played to his strengths, and he was very, very good. And he'd give 100% every weekend. You knew that someone coming down the left is going to meet Johnny Hollins, and Johnny Hollins would know what, brilliant. Very, 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 and a gentleman as well. I've actually met him years ago. He won't remember me, funnily enough, but I've met him, and very, very nice guy. That's it.
But no, I mean, he played in the first Arsenal game I went to against Man City in 1981. He was right back, and he, the first couple of seasons that I went, he was regular in the team, and he was. You could see, although he was obviously past his peak at that point, he was in his late 30s, I think. He was still a good player, and like you said, you could always rely on him to do the job. And he took penalties as well for a bit as well, didn't he?
That's right.
I remember him scoring a few penalties. He had a bit of a cool head about him, and he was always a good player. And like you said, he always seemed like a nice guy as well. His son became something in sort of media on the TV, didn't he?
Wasn't he on Dancing? Strictly Come Dancing, wasn't it? Strictly Dancing?
Something like
Strictly,
that. Yeah.
Was it called? He was Strictly. He's very good, his son, actually. I've seen him on TV.
Yeah.
And I think John Holland's brother, used to play in goal for Newcastle, I think.
Did he?
I think so, yeah. I should have looked that up. By memory, his brother used to play up in Newcastle. Almost certain. I'll have to look that up later. I've made a fool of myself again.
No,
we'll see.
It'd be great if it is. But yeah, I mean, I remember him being a good player for Arsenal at a difficult time when Arsenal wasn't a great team, and he kind of stood out from being a real classy player. But at the end of his career, and someone I was a little bit, I just missed him playing for Arsenal. You probably remember him playing for Arsenal, I would imagine. But he was a Chelsea legend, actually.
Oh, phenomenal player. Loved him. Loved him.
A bit of a playboy by all accounts, but I've heard
quality player. He talked to the ball. He could actually talk to the ball. His first touch, his movement. He was cutting up, and he played in the same midfield as Liam Brady. Those two together, certain games were like, don't forget these moments. Just so good, the pair of them. It was so good to watch these two play, pass the ball, move. He was a quality player. I don't think he had that many England caps on the basis that he had this like playboy, Rodney Marsh, you can name a few, Stanley Bowles type image, that, oh no, you don't wear your tie properly, I'm not picking you, one of those things. But he was a very, very, very good player. And we let him go, I think, to Stoke. I think he went to Stoke, didn't he? Yeah, after us. He had not a bad career at Stoke.
Because he played in America as well, didn't he? Didn't he play in America?
Yeah. He went abroad, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he's one of them sort of typical 1970s footballer, wasn't he? Who maybe was quite a character, but a really skillful player that, nowadays would be loved. But back then, like you said, was snubbed by England because of his reputation.
Yeah.
But he must have been a great player to watch just because.
Oh, he was.
whole personality and his character as well, apart from how good he was. I mean, I've seen clips of him and he looked a great player. And I know Chelsea fans really loved him. He was a great player for them. I actually believe someone said to me, I don't know if it's true, that he's an Arsenal fan as well.
I don't know about that.
I read somewhere that apparently he was a big Arsenal fan, and that was one of the reasons why he was so keen to join Arsenal when he did, because he'd always supported the club when he was growing up. So I don't know if that's true, but I read that somewhere. But yeah, a great player. Another one maybe from a similar kind of era to John Hollins, who played in the same Arsenal team as John Hollins, was this guy.
Peter Nicholas. Peter Nicholas.
He wasn't
but
great.
Peter Nicholas was I don't remember, just about remember him playing at Chelsea. If you'd have said to me, well, who did Peter Nicholas play after he left the Arsenal, I wouldn't have known. We bought him from Crystal Palace, I know.
He went back to Crystal Palace as well. We sold him back there. Yeah, and then I don't know where else he went, but he only played for Chelsea briefly, a year or two, in the early 1990s, I think it was. So I don't think he made much of an impression there. He certainly didn't make much of an impression on me when he was at Arsenal. I've got to be honest. He wasn't a great player, was he? Or he wasn't a great player for Arsenal, and he wasn't a great player.
What I remember about Peter Nicholas, is he got crunched by Souness once. He fouled Souness, and 2 minutes later, I thought he was going to break his body in half. An horrible foul for Souness. Yeah, it was horrible. But also, he replaced Liam Brady. We sold Liam Brady, and he was the guy we got. And if I can go back to I was lucky. I used to get these things to let me into the shareholders meeting, proxies, right?
Yeah.
And some guy stood up and he goes, "Sir," he goes, "we've had the best tannoy system at Highbury for years now. What did you do? You've replaced it with a new system," he said. "I want to ask you, Mr. Chairman, is the new system is lousy. Why did you do it? You spent all that money upgrading, and it's worse," he said. And this is about the time we got Nicholas. Said, the same could be said about our midfield. Because they got rid of Brady, got Nicholas. Brilliant.
Definitely, yeah. Jonathan there says he went to Aberdeen, actually.
Charlie Nicholas played. I saw Charlie Nicholas play for Aberdeen. I went to a Celtic Aberdeen game, actually. And Nicholas played for Aberdeen, yeah.
I think Charlie Nicholas did quite well for him. I'm not sure about Peter Nicholas. I don't think I know he did well at Crystal Palace when we bought him, and then he went back to Crystal Palace. I think he did all right, but I don't know really where he went after that, other than I know he ended up at Chelsea briefly, but I don't think he did much for them. Another player who never actually played for Arsenal, but was at Arsenal and also played for...
Clive Allen.
Clive Allen, yeah. Apparently he did quite well for Chelsea. Again, he only had a brief
I don't remember him at Chelsea. I
think he had something like 8 goals in 12 games or something for him. He did a great job. But I think I don't know if they were in the first division, or maybe they might have been in the second division. Maybe I'm not sure. But
I hope is his hand all right now.
Clive Allen.
His hand, yeah, is it all right?
I don't know what was wrong with his hand.
Well, remember he was complaining that Wenger never shook his hand. I won't do that. He's not doing... Remember that?
Yeah, I do know you mentioned it. Yeah. Well, he's probably not. I don't really care actually. Anyway, another player who probably won't be fondly remembered from us, but I think he was a pretty decent player for Chelsea before we got him. Was this guy? You remember
Colin Pates? Colin Pates. He played. Yeah. He was a centre half, left side of centre half. He didn't get a chance, but when he played for us, I don't think he did too bad. He hardly got a game for us. I don't think.
His only goal he scored for Arsenal was a Benfica game, wasn't it, in the Champions League, 1991, I think.
And they beat us 2-1, was it? Was it 2-1?
3-1 after extra time. 1-1.
Didn't have Russians scored from? A couple of Russians scored from, didn't they?
Yeah, there was some guy scored 2 goals in the second.
Some guy looked unbelievable, and we thought, where is this guy's Russian? I think it was extra time they might have beaten us 3-1. Yeah, and I think he finished up a few years later playing for Millwall, that Russian.
Did he? Oh,
yeah, I think so, yeah.
He ripped us apart that night. Obviously, Colin Pates did score our goal. It was the only goal he scored for Arsenal, actually.
He didn't play much.
At the clock end, it was from a corner. I think he kind of smashed it in, and that put us 1-0 up. It looked like we were going to go through at that point.
Yeah.
But, that's probably my only real memory of him playing for Arsenal, actually, because he didn't, like you said, he didn't really play much, did he? I think he
didn't play much. You remember we had decent centre halves at the club at the time. I think what I remember, he had one of the first footballers I saw with tattoos. I think he had a lot of tattoos.
Yeah.
I don't know,
And
remember that.
Yeah, I read a story as well. I don't know if it was maybe in Tony Adams' book or someone that apparently he was hard as well. He was a hard man. You wouldn't
really didn't look it, did he?
No, he didn't look it, but apparently he was. I read it. I don't know if it was in some book I've read, and someone was saying about Colin Pates that he was rock hard. And you wouldn't mess with him. You wouldn't want to get on the wrong side of him. Apparently, yeah, he didn't look it at all.
I thought he was a brilliant player myself, Richard. I thought he was one of the best players we ever had, mate.
Really?
In case we met him,
yeah, he was brilliant. He can come on the show. Actually, I'd like to get him on the show. It'd be nice.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
I think he played about 9 or 10 games for Arsenal, and I don't remember any of them other than that Benfica game because he scored the goal that night. I don't know whether the fact he was playing at the back instead of maybe Steve Bold or Tony Adams or somebody might have been why we got out. But anyway, I don't know. I'm not going to blame it on him though, because as I said, he's rock hard, so definitely won't be his fault. And another player, an Arsenal legend who again played briefly for Chelsea and had a sort of more coaching.
I thought something else. Sorry. Yeah, Graham Rix.
Graham Rix, yeah. I mean, he was a player who played in the first ever Arsenal game I went to, and for probably the first 5 or 6 years that I was going, he was great. I love Graham Rix. I thought he was a brilliant player for us. Great left foot as well.
He's better than Hoddle, isn't it? Is that the song?
Exactly. Yeah. I'm not sure if he was quite better than Hoddle, but
no, but we sung it anyway.
Yeah, I love Graham Rix. He was brilliant. And also as well in the 1982 World Cup, of course, he played in every game for England. And that was the first time I can remember an Arsenal player really playing for England at that time. Kenny Sanson as well, but an actual Arsenal had come through Arsenal's kind of youth academy and got into the England side. So that was a great thing as well. But I love Graham Rix, but I don't think he played that much for Chelsea. He ended up just being coach there, didn't he?
I don't know if he played any time. I don't think he played. I don't know. I'm sure if he played for Chelsea or was just a coach.
No, I think he went there as a coach initially, and I think he was a player coach, and I think he got maybe 5 or 6 games.
Right.
He didn't play much, but he did play a few games for him. But it was more in a coaching capacity than anything else. But I say, I know he did stay at Chelsea quite a while for coaching, but obviously I think everyone remembers him from Arsenal just because.
Yeah, brilliant. And also the cup final, he made the goal for Alan Sunderland, didn't he? From Brady's pass. Yeah, who can forget that? He's a legend just for that.
Well, he is, yeah. Unfortunately, of course, it was he missed a penalty, didn't he, in the 1980 Cup Winners' Cup final against Valencia. He missed.
Yeah, but can I say something? Who else missed one?
Yeah, Liam Brady as well. Yeah,
exactly. No one.
Yeah, and Mario Kempes as well.
But they talk about Rix's one for some reason more than Brady's one.
Because Rix's one was a final penalty that cost us the final one. Yeah. Brady the thing was with Brady's one, actually, I always think Brady's penalty was more crucial because Mario Kempes went first for Valencia and missed. And if Brady had scored first for us, we'd have had the advantage and probably won. But Brady missed as well. Then it went back to 0-0 and then everyone else scored until Rix's go. So Brady's penalty was actually probably more important because straight after they'd missed their first one, that would have put us in control of that. And you'd imagine Brady would have scored because he scored a lot of penalties, but unfortunately,
superb player.
Yeah. But unfortunately, like you said, Rix's one's remembered more because it was the final one, and that obviously decided the game, unfortunately. But he recovered from that well. I thought he had a great career at Arsenal. I thought he was a great player.
Terrific.
And he appeared on Andrew's show, didn't he, a little while ago, and he was great.
Yeah, he did. It was brilliant. He was brilliant. The thing about Rix as well, what you can talk about, funny enough, Chelsea's involved. He scored the only proper goal in our 3-0 win against Orient.
That's right. Yeah,
that was at Stamford Bridge, wasn't
it? Yeah.
McDonald both out of the corner flag got deflected, and he was claiming it. McDonald. Rixie had a terrific. The third goal was fantastic. What he scored.
Yeah,
really good goal. It was the only proper goal of the game, if you like.
I think Alan Hudson played in that game as well, didn't he? I think Alan Hudson played for us.
Did he? I don't remember that. Yeah, if you say so, I don't remember that.
I think he might have done it because he played in a final that year, didn't he, against Ipswich?
Oh, right.
I think he did. I'm pretty sure he did because that was really that brief time he was at Arsenal. I'm sure it was around about that time because I know Rix and Hudson played in the same Arsenal team.
Was it Rix who never played in one? He spoke to us about one of the finals he never played in. He was in the first team. It might have been that year.
Yeah,
that year he never played.
Yeah, I think Hudson played instead.
Yeah.
Instead of Rix in that final, and then obviously Hudson left after that, and obviously then Rix got a regular place in the team for the following season's final when, of course, he set up the goal. So, But yeah, I mean, he was obviously a great player for Arsenal. I'm getting confused where we are. Oh, right, okay. Here's one I say. I've got the wrong picture of him actually, because I thought he was great for Arsenal, but I've only got a picture of him in a Chelsea top, unfortunately.
Ah, cool. So who can that be? I've got no idea. Petit.
What a great player he was. What a great player he was for us, wasn't he?
Yeah, he reminds me of Xhaka because they're so different.
Yeah, well, they are so different. Yeah, left-footed central midfielders is about the only comparison that you can make.
Exactly. Yeah,
he was such an elegant player, Petit, wasn't he? He used to annoy me when he kept adjusting his ponytail every 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's true. All the time he used to do that to me. Yeah, I can't do that anymore.
No, I can't either. But it used to annoy me that he used to do that all the time. But what a great player he was! And of course, he scored a goal, didn't he, in the World Cup final when he was an Arsenal player.
And Vieira gave it to him, didn't he?
Vieira set it up, yeah. So
what season we had then, Richard? Do you remember that? We won the double, and we had a player, an Arsenal player in a World Cup final, giving a ball to another Arsenal player in a World Cup final and scoring a goal. How good was that?
Absolutely brilliant. Just that was probably one of my favourite ever seasons, actually, that '98 season, just because of, we had to come from a long way behind in the league, didn't we, to win it. We won 10 games in a row, and it was a great side as well, wasn't it? We played some great football. Obviously, Petit and Vieira in midfield. I mean, there was no better partnership in midfield at that time anywhere.
Nowhere near. Can I tell you a story about that? I got taken to the Germany-Croatia World Cup game in that World Cup, right? And in the game before that was Holland-Argentina, where Bergkamp got that great goal. We watched that in a cafe. Then it was in Lyon. We went to watch Germany play Croatia, and Germany was big favourites. Croatia smashed them 3-0. Then the coach driver goes, before you fly back, we've got a few hours to kill. Do you want to go for a drink? So everyone's going, yeah, we're in a great mood. Went into this hotel, and then we were watching on this screen kind of like a match of the day type thing, French match of the day. And someone tapped me on the shoulder, going, Melvyn. And remember, we just won a double. Arsene Wenger's walked in. Says, "Do me a favour." No, yes. And walking along, it was Arsene Wenger, wasn't it? Anyway, sits down at this table. I think, what do I do? I mean, nervous. I thought, sod it. So I went up with a couple of pals. And Mr. Wenger, can we have our photographs taken with you, please? He went, but of course. Right, and this is it. Can you see it?
Wow.
You won't know where I are. You don't recognise me, do you?
You've got hair there, have you?
And no glasses.
Yeah, wow. That's amazing, that.
And I met him. Oh, it's fantastic. What a feeling that was, meeting him then.
Wow, that's been the greatest day ever.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Fantastic, yeah. And of course, Emmanuel Petit started as a defender, didn't he? And then it was Arsene Wenger.
Marseille or Monaco? Monaco left back, wasn't
he? Yeah, and then Arsene Wenger put him in midfield, converted him into a midfield player. He became, he did that quite a lot, Arsene Wenger, didn't he? But you said before about players switching. Arsene Wenger did that quite a lot, didn't he, with players? Yeah. Moved Henry from the wing to centre forward. He moved Petit from defence to midfield. He sort of did a bit of that as well. And Petit was a great player. And I was disappointed that he ended up at Chelsea, actually, of all the places he could have gone. I know he went to Barcelona first with Overmars, and then he ended up. He actually scored against us. Do you remember that game? That was New Year's. I think that was New Year's Day, and he scored against us. We beat him 3-2 at Highbury, and Petit scored for Chelsea at Highbury that day. I was a bit disappointed in that as well, actually, because he was a.
It's quite funny when you said what you just said, because the parallels with Fabregas, isn't it?
Yeah,
went from us to Barcelona, and we never got him back when he came back, and he went to Chelsea.
Yeah,
another quality player.
He's another one, obviously, on the list.
Yeah,
says Fabregas. What a fantastic footballer he was.
Oh, phenomenal!
Incredible. What an incredible player. You think that nowadays, obviously, with the current team we've got now, Cesc Fabregas at 17 years old, you'd imagine he'd walk straight into this team, but he probably wouldn't get picked by Arteta because he wouldn't trust him. But at 17 years old, he was a fantastic player, wasn't he? Even then, just unbelievable.
I saw him play. I think he played at 16 or 17. His first game was a Charity Shield, I think, against Man United.
It was, yeah.
And I watched it. I was with Jerome, my son. I'm sitting there going, this guy is different gravy. I know he didn't do lots. He just did bits, I just couldn't believe how much time this geezer had on the ball. This young kid had so much vision and time on the ball. I remember saying, "Oh, this guy's different, great." And luckily, we didn't overplay him like we normally do, or as we do now, underplay him. You know. So no, he was a great player, great player. One of the greats.
I mean, you think that at that time it was the invincible team when he first came along. We had the invincible side, and the following season he was regularly in that team at like 17 years old in the invincible side. That's how good he was, and he didn't, and he was one of the best players in that team as well. It wasn't like he was out of place. He was one of the best players. He was just unbelievable, and probably one of my favourite ever Arsenal players, if I'm honest. Just for how good he was. You know, he was just fantastic to watch. A brilliant player, and it was just a shame that. Obviously, when we could have got him back, we didn't, and he ended up going to Chelsea and creating more success there, didn't he? Because I think he won the Premier League with Chelsea, didn't he? The FA Cup and stuff like that. So, well, I don't. Did he ever score against us for Chelsea?
No, I've got a bone to pick with him. If I ever meet him, I've got a little bone to pick with him. In my opinion, he got Santi Cazorla sent off 1 year at the Bridge. I think we had 2 players sent off that game.
Was that the 6-0?
I don't think it was the 6-0. I'm not sure. We had our centre half, Gabriel, was it the centre half?
Oh yeah.
With he back kicked the centre forward on the halfway line, which was excellent.
That was Drogba got him.
Was it?
Drogba got Gabriel.
No, who's the centre forward? The centre forward, not Conte. Looks like that. The centre forward.
There you go.
Atletico Madrid.
Ah.
That he got him sent off, and then Fabregas at the edge of the box. There was the ball was loose, and 2 players come together, and I think that Fabregas, professional, made a lot of it, and thought a countryman, same countryman, made a lot of it, and he got his red card because I think that's probably the only red card he got for us because he wasn't that type of player, was he? In all fairness,
I don't remember that.
He did make a lot of it. Yeah, I'm not going mad. No, I remember because it's stuck in my mind. I'll have to look that up. Look up as well. I think that was
but I just can't remember it. But then maybe because I don't want to look too negatively on Cesc Fabregas much because of what a great.
No, that's the only thing. I mean, let's face it. He's still think he's a great player for us. Thank God we had him. He's brilliant. But that's a little thing. It's worse, 100 times worse for me than people celebrate when they score against us. Like people getting upset with a Walcott the other day. Don't upset them at all. Getting someone like Cazorla.
I just can't remember Fabregas scoring against us for Chelsea. He may well have done. It doesn't.
He did. I think he didn't even score when Czech threw it out by mistake. Czech was in goal for us. I think it was at the Bridge. He made it 3-0. Then he chipped him. He did a chip.
Fabregas no, I remember that now. Yeah, we lost that game 3-1, didn't we? In the end. Yeah, he did.
I can't remember scoring, but yeah.
Yeah, and he didn't celebrate, did he? He didn't celebrate at all.
No.
Yeah, I remember that now you mentioned it. Actually, yeah, he did score that one. Yeah, he didn't celebrate, so we let him off. But he was a great player, and someone else who maybe should have been an absolute Arsenal legend, but ended up kind of getting the hump and leaving was that guy. What a great player he was.
Yeah, he was fantastic, wasn't he?
And
I think I saw his first game for us. I think I saw his first game away at Derby, end of the season.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he came.
Was that the first game?
I think it might have been, yeah. I mean, I think he'd played a couple of games before, but that was one of his first appearances, yeah. When we were down at 10.
And he looked so good. He looked so good. And that might have been the game. Might have been, because I've been to Derby a few times watching the Arsenal around there, where it was the last game at the baseball ground. I'm not sure if it was the last game at the baseball. Yeah. Was it? They played the last post. Remember that, Richard?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
They played. I was there for that. I thought, God, yeah.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, I was at that game. Yeah, that was last game of the season. It was their last game at the ground. In fact, we've played a couple of. Yeah, we played the last game at Southampton's the Dell as well.
When he scored, Letizia scored, didn't he?
Yeah. We played the last game at Derby's baseball ground. I'm sure there's another one as well somewhere that will come back to me. But yeah, obviously Anelka, that was one of his first games. He came on. I think Tony Adams got sent off, didn't he, that day?
Did he? I don't remember that. Cool, I don't remember that.
Early on in that game, we went 1-0 down with 10 men and came back and won 3-1. Anelka came on and played well. I think Bergkamp scored a chip, didn't he? Chip the keeper.
That's it. I remember Bergkamp scoring, yeah.
Yeah, and I think Ian Wright scored a couple of goals as he tended to do. But yeah, I mean, Anelka would have been, I think, a great player for Arsenal if he had stayed. But even he admitted himself later, didn't he, that he maybe regretted leaving Arsenal when he.
It was his brothers. The rumor was his brothers got involved. Is that right? That was the rumor.
Yeah. I mean, did you see the documentary on the Nelka? It was out.
No,
no. On Netflix or something. Really good, actually. It's really worth watching. Bit of an insight into him, and I kind of it changed my opinion on him a bit, because before I didn't really like him. I always thought he was a bit of a twat, if I was honest. But watching that documentary actually made his
the salt, wasn't it? The salt,
wasn't he? And I don't think that was really the case. When you look at the documentary, you can actually see a different side to him. And I came out from watching that thinking actually he's a nice guy overall. And it's a shame he didn't stay at Arsenal, because he did regret leaving when he did, because I think he realised he could have been a great player. And in fact, he was more highly rated than Thierry Henry, wasn't he? Because we got rid of him, bought Thierry Henry, and everyone's thinking, well, that's a bit of a downgrade. It didn't turn out to be.
Would we have got both, Richard? Do you think we might have kept him and got Henry, or you don't
possibly
think so?
Because they both played for France, didn't they? They came through that La Fontaine Academy together. Yeah, they could have probably played together, actually. Would have been interesting to see.
Imagine that.
But he might have kept Thierry Henry on the wing, though, mightn't he? Maybe if Anelka was still.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Don't know what would have happened, but yeah, I mean, they played for France together a few times, and they were great. They were best friends as well. They were really good friends, the two of them. So,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, apparently they were. So that could have been interesting if he had stayed with Thierry. Although, would we have bought Thierry Henry if he had stayed? That's the other thing, because he was
We got a lot of money for Anelka, didn't we? Got over 20 million for him.
Yeah, and we built a new training ground as well, apparently, off the back of the money that we got for him. Another player who didn't really play much for either team, but the few games he played for Arsenal, I was really impressed with him, was this guy. Do you remember him?
Oh, Diarra or something.
Diarra, yeah.
You know what? That was a big mistake. I thought he was a terrific player. Yeah. He was. I mean, we're crying out for his type of player for the last 10 years, haven't we? Really, he just destroyed the midfield. He was so good. He had everything. He could turn, run, tackle. He was hard. Read a game. But the thing is, we had about 3 or 4 players at the time. Firmini was around, I think, at that time, and a few others. And Wenger decided to sell him because he wasn't getting time playing for the Arsenal. He hardly played for us. Yeah. And he wasn't being picked. He wanted to play, so we went to Portsmouth. And then next step was it Real Madrid?
I think so. Yeah.
That's how good he was. Yeah. He was that good. He was that good, and he was everything we wanted. And then what happened was Flamini, I think, left, and this one went and finished up. We had no midfield at all. And we were crying out.
The Army was there at the time, and he was injured a lot. And yeah, it was a shame because I remember a game we played at Aston Villa actually, and he was absolutely brilliant that day. And you think, what a player he's going to be. And then literally a few weeks later, we sold him. It was like,
I was upset. Yeah,
that was a bit of a shock. And of course, there was these two players who probably won't be best remembered either way, really, for us. A little which we obviously came out a lot worse, didn't we?
It was like, oh my God, what have we done? And the strange thing was, when we got Gallus, we played him at left back.
We did, yes.
He never played a sweeper.
Yeah.
I mean, Ashley Cole was probably one of if not the best left back we've ever had, in my opinion. He was the nearest thing. I mean, it's very difficult. Yeah, no, I'll say it. I think he was world class. They throw that a lot. You throw that around a lot of players that I don't think are world class people do, but I think he was actually world class.
Yeah,
Arsenal, and also Chelsea.
100 caps, over 100 caps for England as well at left back. That's just amazing.
Phenomenal.
Fantastic player, and he obviously he was still a great player when he was at Chelsea as well. Won a lot more trophies with them than he had with us probably as well. But yeah, that was that's one of the biggest kind of players. I was so gutted about leaving actually because he was so good. Along with Cesc Fabregas and Petit actually, funny enough, we all ended up at Chelsea. 3 players I was really upset that they left because they were great players for us. Ashley Cole was brilliant.
Phenomenal.
And I think he was probably the best left back English football's ever had, actually.
Yeah, could be.
I know Kenny Sansom was up there as well, but I do think Ashley Cole.
I think attacking wise, he was better than Sansom.
Yeah, I think he was.
The way he linked up with the other players, Ashley Cole was superb. He was so fast. He was so hard.
Great one-on-one defender as well, wasn't he? He was the only player I can remember actually who always got the better of Cristiano Ronaldo every time he played against him.
Yeah, always. Say that. Yeah.
for England and for Arsenal, for Chelsea. Every time he played against him, he always got the better of him. He was absolutely fantastic, and there's not many players can say that. So, and of course, we ended up with Gallas, who was a bit of a disaster, if we're totally honest. But but anyway, another one of the going to bring us on to some of these more recent players from Chelsea that we've got, who maybe we got haven't got the best from. I suppose if we start with this guy who's currently still at the club now. I think he's a little bit underrated for us. I do think he's been a good player for us overall. He's made a few high-profile mistakes, obviously, as he did for Chelsea, but I do still think he's a decent player. I just don't think he's ever going to. Obviously, he's not going to be what we need long-term because he's getting to the end of his career. But I think he had a decent career for Chelsea. He's won everything in the game, hasn't he? I just don't feel as though he's quite pushed on as we maybe hoped he would. And I suppose another one is exactly the same. You could say. Is this guy who's not done anything for Arsenal yet, really, is he? Which is a shame because I was quite excited when we signed him because of how good he'd been for Chelsea for a number of years.
I'm going to play devil's advocate with William. No, he hasn't done anything for us apart from was it the Fulham game? He made a couple or whatever. But I'm just going to say that he was Chelsea's best player last year or something. But in all fairness, look what he had to play with at Chelsea. Look what he's playing with now. When he gets the ball. There's no one when he gets the ball. There's no one running off to get the ball from him. I'm not saying he's played well.
No, I agree. He's playing in a better team at Chelsea. Obviously, we get a bit of banter there, going to get relegated. Yeah, well, we might do, but we still might beat you today. So let's hang fire on that maybe until 7 o'clock tonight, 7:30 tonight before we start and all that. But we still might get relegated. I agree, but we'll see. Another player I actually thought. Was okay for Arsenal. He got a lot of criticism as well. Was this dude? I quite thought he was decent actually for Arsenal. Again, towards the end of his career, so we probably didn't get the best years of him. But maybe a bit similar to Pat Jennings. We'd got him at the end of his career. He obviously wasn't as good for Arsenal as Pat Jennings was, but I felt he was a good goalkeeper for us. Actually, I just never felt he got the credit he deserved.
I think Pat Jennings was a much better goalkeeper for Arsenal than Cech was for Arsenal.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Yeah, it just reminded me similar because he'd had a long career at Chelsea, run a lot of trophies. As Pat Jennings had a long career at Tottenham, and then we got him at the end when people thought he was finished. And I still think he had 2 or 3 decent. He won the Golden Gloves with Arsenal, Petr Cech. So he wasn't that bad. I never felt he really got the credit he deserved at Arsenal. Actually, I did think he was decent for a couple of years, and then obviously towards the end he'd lost it a little bit, and he'd obviously
definitely, definitely.
Unfortunately, and a player that I would take back tomorrow if we could, and I wish we'd never got rid of him.
Giroud. Yeah,
he's doing well for Chelsea. He's the sort of player that we need as well at the moment. A good old-fashioned centre forward. Getting all these crosses that we're putting in with nobody getting on the end of it. He'd score quite a few goals in this Arsenal team with the way that we play at the minute. With some of them crosses, he reads them really well, doesn't he? He's great in the air.
Phenomenal.
He makes runs into the near post for finishing things off, and I think he's a great player. His touch, everything. Again, he's another underrated player. His goal scoring for France is unbelievable. France are World Cup winners. He plays every single game for them, scores goals.
Yeah.
And people saying he's not good enough to play for Arsenal. I'm sorry, but he definitely is. He definitely is. And I know he's probably past his best. Another one now. Let's be honest. He's well into his 30s, but he could do a job for us if we got him from January on loan to the end of the season. That'd be a great move. That because I think he'd do. It ain't going to happen.
I agree. The thing is, what he's got is presence in the box. We ain't got that with anyone. None of our players.
Isn't he?
You can't say that with anyone else.
He's a target and his movement as well. He anticipates where the ball's going to fall in the box, and he sometimes turns an average cross into a good cross because it'll be a goal because he'll get on the end of it and put it in. And he's still doing that now for Chelsea. Look at some of the great centre forwards and strikers that Chelsea have got at the moment. He's still getting a game and he's still scoring goals. Just goes to show what a great player he is. All that money they spent on strikers in the summer, Werner and all these other people that they've got, Tammy Abraham and stuff they've got, and he's still getting a game. And I mean, he scored 4 goals in the Champions League the other week, didn't he? I mean, I'd have him back in the blink of an eye. So
I agree.
I've got one more left. I wanted to save him until last. I know he's not really that noted for playing for Chelsea, but he did play for Chelsea. But obviously, he's Arsenal all the way through. What more can you say? He didn't. Obviously, he didn't play much for Chelsea towards the end of his career. He was injured a lot. But I think he had a good season for Chelsea, from what I remember. One decent season for Chelsea just at the end before he got injured again and ended up leaving. But again, he's another one along with this Fabregas, one of my favourite ever Arsenal players. He just had everything, didn't he? He had pace, power, strength. He could score. He could cross. He could set goals up. He just had everything. The complete player, really. And when I first started watching, Arsenal in the early 1980s, one player that really stood out for me playing for another team was John Barnes at Watford at the time. And I just thought he was phenomenal. But for me, when Rocastle was playing for us, when Rocastle came through, he was reminding me a lot of John Barnes. I just thought he was actually a better player than John Barnes, actually. For 3 or 4 years at Arsenal, he was just unbelievable, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
And obviously, it's a real shame what happened to him in the end. But I mean, what a great player he was. And obviously, we can't mention Arsenal and Chelsea players without giving him a massive mention, because he's fantastic. It's just I say he didn't quite. Chelsea didn't see the best of him probably, whereas we did, and that's great. I mean, is there anyone else you can think of? I don't know if there's anyone else I've missed out on. I can't think of anyone.
There's only one of kind of recent times. Yossi Benayoun.
Actually, I'll tell you what. I've got him. Look, here he is.
That's it. I thought when he played for us, Richard, I thought we'd done all right. I liked him.
Yeah, I liked him. I thought he was a good player.
Yeah.
He's another one that we got on loan, didn't we? We got him on loan just after the 8-2 Man United game, didn't we? And he come in on loan, and everybody was sort of a bit unsure about him. But I thought he
was decent. He was a decent footballer.
Yeah,
and he flowed when he played the game. He got the ball, he ran with it, give it back, and all that. He was, and he could score a goal as well. Yeah. He can actually, for a midfielder, Arsenal midfielder, he can cross the halfway line, which is unusual nowadays.
At that time as well, he was a typical Arsenal sort of player, wasn't he? But the way he played as a midfield player, he was a typical Arsenal midfield player, wasn't he? And I thought he had a decent season actually, and he played well for us. Come on, Arsenal, you got this. Yeah, let's hope so. Well, maybe not quite yet. Let's see what the next few games bring, and see. I want to see. I think these next 3 games, actually, Arteta in or out. I think the next 3 games are crucial. If we don't win any of the next 3 games, I don't see how he can stay. I don't want him to go necessarily, but I can't see there be any other option if we don't win any of these next 3 games. Hopefully we can win today, and then it'll ease the pressure a little bit. But I want Arteta to succeed because I like the guy, and I can't see the point of changing managers all the time when there's other problems behind the scenes that need addressing as well. But it's a results business at the end of the day, and if we don't pick up results in the next 3 games, unfortunately, I think that's going to be his lot, and it would be a shame. And I don't know where we go from there, but let's worry about that. Let's hopefully we get a few wins. Let's hope we win the next 3 games. We end up maybe 6th or 7th in the league, and then things will look a little bit more brighter. So I think that's all the previous players that I can think of. There may be one guy I wanted to mention briefly. I don't think he played for Chelsea. Was Ted Drake. Of course, he managed them to the league title in 1955, I think it was.
And he scored. He was great centre forward, wasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, his goals gone for Arsenal. I think he scored his first 100 goals in something like 104 games or something for Arsenal. His first 100 goals was just incredible. I mean, what a record he had.
Did he score 7 in one game against Villa?
Yeah, Villa he scored 7 in one game. Yeah. 7, yeah. In 7, no, in 9 shots, I think. One hit the bar and one was disallowed or something, and he scored 7 in that game. Yeah.
Disallowed from VAR. Was it VAR disallowed or not?
It probably was VAR, yeah. He probably would have, if with VAR, he probably only scored 3 that day. The others would have got disallowed. But yeah. Well, we don't know we're not going to win them yet, do we? Let's wait and see. We could. Potentially, I agree. We might not. We probably won't. But there's still a chance. I'm going to assume that we might get some results in these games. But anyway, so that's sort of all them sort of players that have played for both. I say lots there. It's probably the most out of any team so far that we featured, actually, I think. There seems to have been quite a lot, hasn't there, over the time? Say, more recently as well. Obviously, a lot of them were, but there's a few more in history as well. So if we move on to sort of today's game later on today, a couple of hours now actually till kick off, what we need to do is have a look at this. So, what are we thinking is going to be the lineup? It's always a guessing game with Arteta at the moment. Never really sure what he's going to do. This is a big test for him today. Is he going to risk things a little bit more with some of these younger players, or will he play it safe? Will he play Willian against his old team? Will he play David Luiz against his old team? Or will he actually be brave and put some of these youngsters in? Will he put Smith Rowe in? Will he give Balogun a start? a lot of it's going to depend on, I guess, the fitness of a couple of players as well. Well, what are you thinking, Melvyn? What first of all, what do you think Arteta will do, and then maybe what you would do instead?
What I think he might do, and you know that it seems when he picks his team, Arteta, he seems to be putting two fingers up at a lot of people, doesn't he? Sometimes you think, what's he done that for? He can only beat you upset. Tongue in cheek, Richard, but do you think he'd play Runnison in goal? Because that would be two fingers up. But obviously, he's not going to do that. No, we're not going to have any of that. Obviously, that would be really putting two fingers up, wouldn't it? Anyway, obviously,
put it this way: when the team comes out at 4:30, if Radisson's in the team, I think he should be sacked immediately.
I agree. No, 100%. He's lost the plot.
Yeah, lost the plot. Yeah,
just send the doctor around there and test him for certain things. You know that, right? Right now, then, I think what he'd do, obviously, Leno in goal. I think he'd play Ainsley at right back. I think he'll have Louise and he'll have obviously Gabriel and Tierney. In midfield, he'll have the three. He'll have Ceballos, Saka. He might have. I think he's going to have Xhaka in it, mate. I think he's going to put him in. I'm sorry. I think he's going to put him in. And up front, I think he'll have centre forward. He'll play. He'll play Lacazette. He'll play Lacazette. He'll play William on the right, and on the left, if Aubameyang's fit, obviously him. If not, he might put Pepe in, mate. I think he might really have the standard team. Or have William coming off the left and Pepe on the right. But that's what I think he might do. I hope he doesn't, because if he does that, he's opening himself up. That he's got no excuse if we get beat. He'll have everything thrown at him. But what I would like to see was very similar to the type of team that that you were talking about the other day. Goalkeeper talks. That's the goalkeeper's in. We know that one. I think we play with three at the back. We play with Holding, Louise, and Gabriel. I think Ainsley, Maitland-Niles, and Tierney. The two midfielders, Ceballos and Elneny. I suppose so. And three up front, is it? Am I getting this right? Yeah, three up front would be. I would like to see. It ain't going to happen. I'd like to see Balogun giving a run. Saka on the left, and on the right, Pepe, I suppose Pepe. But that was what I would like, but I don't think it's going to happen. Or I would like playing with just two up front and bring Smith Rowe into a roaming position behind the front two. That's what I would probably like to do, rather than Pepe. But that ain't going to happen. There's two different teams, isn't it? I've just named two completely different teams.
Yeah, and would probably bring two different results and performances. Gary's put it, obviously, Willian, Hector Bellerin and Xhaka, only one, and we've got a chance. 2+ and we'll struggle and maybe embarrass ourselves. They are the three big players, aren't they, that divide the opinion the most, I think, at the moment. If all three of them are picked in a team at the same time, it does make you scratch your head and think, what's going on? I think maybe only perhaps one of them might start. And I do think if it's only one of them today, it might well be Willian, actually. I just think he might throw him in against Chelsea. But then he might realise that Chelsea know his strengths and weaknesses, and it might not be the best option. I don't know. Is Martinelli out? So we don't know yet, actually. I think there's a good chance he might be fit, but he might only be fit for the bench. Not really sure yet. We'll have to see what happens with that. I mean, if Martinelli's fit, he starts all day long. If he's fit enough to start, he starts. Simple as that. I would have him down the left-hand side, actually, on the left of the front three. I'd put Saka on the right. I just think he's better than Pepe. And I think he's got more about him. Even on the right-hand side, I think he looks good. The centre forward, I would start with Balogun, but I'd be amazed if Arteta does.
It ain't going to happen.
He's more likely to start with Nketiah. I don't think Aubameyang's fit, is he? I don't think so. No. If Aubameyang's fit, obviously he'll start through the middle. I would have thought with Martinelli and Saka either side. That's a good front three. That actually, I would have thought that bad front three. In midfield, if you've got three in midfield, I mean, you'd imagine Elneny's going to play. I think Xhaka might well play, and maybe Ceballos, and then. At the back, Maitland-Niles has got to play for me instead of Hector Bellerin. He's got to, surely. I think he's played himself into the team the last couple of games that he's played. Bellerin's hadn't covered himself in glory before his suspension. Obviously, Tierney will play, Gabriel will play. He's back from suspension as well, and maybe David Luiz, and then Leno in goal. But I just don't think that Arteta's going to be that adventurous, unfortunately. I think he will stick to a lot of the players that's the experienced players have been letting him down, and I just think he will stick with a lot of them. I can't see him throwing Smith Rowe in. I'd like to see it. I can't see him. I can't see him throwing Balogun. I'd like to see it. I'd like to see these players get a game, but I just can't see him doing it because I just think the pressure now on Arteta is far too great, and he'll look on it as a risk playing these young players. I don't think it's a risk. I think it's a risk playing all these other players that have continually let us down. That's the risk. But he'll look at it as a risk of throwing the young players in. That seems to be the impression that he's given out so far. But let's see what happens. Hopefully Martinelli's fit. Hopefully Aubameyang's fit. And then we've got half a chance, I think, with those two in the team up front together. They've not played together for a long time. Yeah, I think he'll probably will stick Granit back in. I think he will, Ryan. Yeah, I totally agree with that. I do think he will. Let's be honest, we don't have a lot of great options in midfield, do we? That's the problem, I suppose, as well. When you look at it, if you're looking at three central midfield players, we've got El Neni, Ceballos and Xhaka. You could play Maitland-Niles in there, but I don't think he will. Smith Rowe would be more of he's not really a central midfield player as such, is he? He needs a bit more freedom further up the pitch. So you'd need to maybe change the system to fit him in and see. Balogun not on the bench and chances are the same as him. Yeah, exactly, yeah. He should be at least a bench pick at Smith Rowe and Balogun as well. I agree. If Balogun isn't going to get on the bench at least at the minute in Premier League, why would he sign a new contract with Arsenal? There's clubs apparently after him, and you can understand why, because he's got potential to be a Tammy Abraham type impact in our team. But anyway, we'll see. We'll see what happens with the team. I mean, there's always 3 or 4 that you scratch your head out when Arteta picks a team every week, and I'm sure it's going to be the same today, unfortunately. But hopefully we're scratching our head in a good way, and he's picked a lot of the young players, and we're pleased that he has, and he's been brave with his decision and really gone for it, because it's a big game today. It is definitely a big game, and if we lose, and if we lose badly like we did the other night again, then that is massive pressure on Arteta, isn't it? With these 2 relegation 6-pointers coming up, which there will be. Anyway, I think he's on about when you took your top off.
Yeah, probably. I don't mind. If we score a goal, he's going to do it, so I won't mind that at all.
Yeah, no, that's always an entertaining clip. That was very exciting. That was what a night that proved to be. So yeah, I mean, I hope he goes brave with the young players, but like yourself, Melvyn, I'm not expecting that he will. I think it's going to be Willian will probably play, Xhaka will probably play, Holding will probably play, and I think he's going to. Bellerin will probably play. I think he's going to go with all them players, and then if we do lose, there's only one person to blame as far as I'm concerned, and that will be him, unfortunately. At least if he plays some of the young players and we lose, you can maybe look at it and say, at least he was brave, at least he tried it, and it didn't maybe pay off. But if he just picks the same players and we lose again, then to me, there's no excuses, and the issues are all on the manager, if that's the case. But let's see what happens first. Let's hope he's a little bit brave, throws a couple of them in at least, and then we can see exactly what we think this will be. I mean, I don't know about you, Melvyn, but I'm finding this game probably the hardest game to predict, actually. They all seem to be hard at the minute, but this potentially could be not good. I don't know what you're thinking.
Right. You've asked for predictions of the score, but I'm going to double whammy. I'm predicting the type of team he's going to pick to the score, and I predict he's going to pick the same old usual suspects, and on that basis, 2-0 defeat.
Yeah, well, I agree that if he does pick that team, then I would be amazed if it's anything other than a defeat. I've got to be honest. And if he can't see that himself, then that's a problem for me. That is a problem. I mean, I'm hoping that a couple of these young players, I'm hoping Martinelli's fit and that he can have an impact. And I think if Martinelli plays, if Aubameyang plays, I can see it maybe being slightly different. I think if either of those two aren't fit or both of them aren't fit, then I think it is going to be a struggle, because he will probably play all these players that we know he's going to probably play. And then I agree, I think we probably will lose. But I'm going to try and be optimistic. I'm gonna hope that he plays a lot more of these younger players. He changes things around slightly from the previous few Premier League games, and that we can maybe get a draw. I did predict a draw in my video the other day, in a preview video. I said 1-1. So I'm going to go with 1-1, but that's only on the basis that he does change the team up a bit and that he does play some of these younger players, or certainly gives them more of an opportunity from the bench, at least, if nothing else. And then I think we can maybe get a draw. But if he does stick with the team, as Melvyn said, I probably would be swayed to agree that we will probably lose. And 2-0 would be a score as good as any to predict, really, I guess. But let's hope for the best. Let's hope that he does change things. Surely he's got to now. He's got to, hasn't he? I just can't believe how he can keep going on these 10 league games now. We've got one win, and he's been picking the same team largely throughout it all, apart from a few suspensions here and there that he's had to change things. Surely he's got to shake it up today and give Chelsea something to think about. You're gone.
Sorry, do you think that he's an oasis and no one actually talks to him? Do you know the people who he works with, the guys that sit with him on the bench? Don't someone say to him, I think you might be, might have to change a few things, Mikel, because it seems like he's making these decisions by himself, because they can't be the people around him have the same view as him. They must see things differently. Otherwise, what's the point of him being there? He's got to lean on someone. Every great manager, needs to lean on someone sometimes. You cannot make every decision yourself and have you need a little bit of guidance. Most certainly if you're a young manager as well. And I'm just shocked that no one's near him that he trusts. He must trust these people. Could say to him, Mikel, do you know what? Perhaps we might think about. And if they're not doing it, then they're not worth the salt, in my opinion. They shouldn't be there.
No, I agree. And what you have an assistant for, what you have all that staff for, don't you, to give you advice. I mean, he does seem to talk to that guy, is it Steve Round? He seems to talk to him quite a lot, doesn't he?
Steve Round, yeah.
So I don't know what the relationship is there, but is it not a situation where I always look at it in situations like this and think back to, say, Michael Jackson, for example. He had advisors around him who were basically they were just yes men. If Michael Jackson wanted to do it, they would just agree with him, even though it was the wrong decision when it came to his surgery and all this other kind of stuff.
All the drugs and all that.
Yeah, everything. So I just feel as though, is that a situation with Arteta that he's got a lot of yes men around him who are just agreeing with him? A bit like a Phil Neal situation with Graham Taylor.
That's right, on the bench. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
is that
boss. Yes, boss.
Yeah. Is that what we've got? Because what it needs is, it does need somebody to stand up to him and say, sorry, Mikel, this is not right. It's not working. You need to look at something different. And maybe that is happening and he's ignoring it because he's stubborn. Maybe it's not happening because they're not strong enough characters to stand up to him. Maybe they're just yes men, as we said, and that's it. I don't know. But yes, you'd imagine that's what you have staff for, to get advice from. And if you're not going to listen to their advice, why have them there? What's the point? Just do it yourself. Just manage on your own and forget it. But he does need advice, I think, and he needs advice from people that really understand what they're doing. And I'm not sure whether that's happening, because it doesn't seem to be. Otherwise, he would have changed things by now, wouldn't he? Surely he made some changes.
It's a good subject for discussion, isn't it? Very good subject, I reckon.
And you just wonder what his assistants and people are doing then. If they're not advising him, or they're not advising him differently, then what are they doing? Because it doesn't make sense why they're there then. Because unless they've got the same opinion as him, in which case they'll need to be sacked as well when he is.
Yeah, they will be, won't they, if he goes?
Yeah. Uber stood up to him over Willian and suddenly he's injured. Well, yeah. Is it? I don't know. Is that the reason? I'm not sure. But I think Arteta doesn't seem to be the easiest guy to get along with, probably. And I think when he's got something in his head, he's going to go with it regardless, perhaps. But anyway, thanks, Gary. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Gary.
Let's hope we can enjoy the game as well. Just a point earlier on, actually, I didn't quite before. Doing it for life, obviously, we were on about Arteta being sacked. He likes him as a person, but as a manager, I despise him. But the FA Cup. Yeah, I mean, I don't agree with a lot of decisions he's been making as a manager over the last few months. I've got to be honest, it's baffling and I can't understand it. But I still think that a lot of the players aren't quite good enough, and unfortunately he's stuck with them at the moment. but he does need to change things up, as we said. And if he does that today and over the next few games, and we start seeing a little bit better improvements in performances, then I guess we've got to give him the opportunity to build on that. But if he doesn't, if he sticks with the same tried and tested team, we keep losing these next 3 games, or we don't win any of them, then I think that's it, I'm afraid. And I think he's proven that he's not the man that we need at this moment in time, and that's going to be that. But I'm going to remain positive. We've got three big games now over the next sort of week or so, and let's hope we can get. I mean, what do you think, Melvyn? And actually, why don't we over these next 3 games? How many points do you think we can realistically get from these 3 games? I know you thought we'll lose today, which I kind of agree we might well lose today. But
if he continues to where we are, the most we can hope for in the next 3 games is 4 points, and I don't even know we're going to get them. That's the most. The upper hand is 4 points. Get beat today if he picks the same team, nick a draw, and might luckily get a win, because every dog has its day, as they say. But that's only the reason I think we're going to win, because every dog has its day. And I think realistically, we might only get 2. If he keeps the same team the next 3 games, we might only get 2 points. But I'm like you. Hopefully, he'll see the light. I think he's got to change something, and he will change it. And you know what? If he changes it up, and we don't get 5 or 6 points, I'll still be happy, because number one, he's changing things up. But number 2, the youngsters that haven't been in the first team, having played a couple of games, they'll be better as well. So I just think you're moving forward for once. So that's where I stand. I think we're probably like to think we get 4 points. If he changes it up, I'll expect more. But if he doesn't, the most is 4 points next 3 games.
I mean, what we've got to remember as well is Brighton away is a bogey ground for us in recent years as well, isn't it? That they always seem to beat up Brighton, and the last thing you need to be going to a bogey team is when you're in a bad run of form. I think today, if he does maybe shake it up, if we play better today, and I do feel that with the young players in the team, at least you could be more excited about watching us, because you're excited to see how they do. At the moment, the team come out and it's going to be 45 minutes time, and if it is the same tried and twisted team, you're not going to go into the game excited for the game, are we? We're going to sit there thinking it's just going to be the same old crap we've put up with for the last few months. And that's the thing for me. If he puts a few of the youngsters, at least you can look at it and think, right, we've got something to be excited about. Let's see how Balogun does. Let's see how Smith Rowe does. Obviously, the other night, how Martinelli did and stuff like that. That's things that you can get excited about. And that's what I want to feel. I want to feel excitement before the game by looking at the team and thinking, this is a team that I can feel excited about watching. And then if that's the case and we still lose, at least you can see that he's tried something different.
Yeah.
And hopefully he'll stick with that over the next 2 games as well. I don't think he will. I think if he does it today and we lose, he'll go back to the normal team for the next 2 games, I think. But
I think he will.
But
what they ought to do, they should actually bring out the team instead of before kickoff, do it 5 minutes before kickoff. Less aggravation, isn't it?
Yeah, I must admit that hour between looking at the team and the game starting, you almost think, right, what else can I do for the next 2 hours instead of watching this game? It must be I could do the garden or something. Surely there's something I can do. You know what I mean? Just to get out of watching it. But anyway, I mean that's what happens at the moment. But let's hope that our past 4, we see the team and we're a little bit excited about some of the changes that he's made, and we can bring that into the game, and hopefully we can put in a performance and get a result. I mean, I would take a draw right now. I've got to be honest. I would take a draw.
So would I.
And that it would maybe be something to build on, because Chelsea are a good side at the moment. Let's not pretend otherwise. They are a decent team, and it would be a good result to even get a draw with the form that we've been on. So let's hope we can put in a performance, get a result of some sort, and then we can move forward to these next 2 big games over the next few days and pick up. I agree. I can't see necessarily how we'd get more than 4 points from those 2 games, and I think even that's going to be a big ask. But depending on today, I think if we put in a performance and a result today, then it is something to build, and we may go on and win the next 2 games, and then suddenly things will look a lot brighter going into the new year. And then maybe 2021 might not be so bad, but that's assuming that football carries on, because of course there's a lot of games today cancelled, isn't there, in the Football League because of COVID tests and stuff like that. And I think it's only a matter of time before the Premier League gets affected. There's already been 1 game off already, the Newcastle game a few weeks ago. And I think that's just a start, if I'm honest. And I think there's going to be more of that coming up as we move into January and a possible national lockdown again, but we'll see. But let's worry about that later on. At the moment, we need to get today's game done. So I say thanks for everyone for watching, everyone in the chat as well. Obviously, Ryan's been in. Thanks for joining us, Gary as well. There was that Chelsea fan in earlier as well, thinking we're going to get relegated. I'm sure he won't be saying that at 7:30 when we've just beaten them. But anyway, we'll see. Obviously, Jonathan was in again, Russ as well. Great to speak to you guys as well. Steve was in earlier, Mark as well. So, yeah, thanks to you guys for watching. Thanks for supporting the channel. If you haven't done so, please subscribe as well. I am doing a watch along on here again. I'll be coming live about 5:15 to go through the team and look forward to the game. And I know Melvin's, you're on the watch along on Ryan's channel, aren't you?
That's right. Yeah.
So Ryan's doing one as well, the Mr. Arsenal podcast. That's always a good watch along as well. So maybe flick between the two would be great. Watch both of us. And then I'll probably put a review of this game on tomorrow if I get the chance to do it. And then look ahead to the Brighton game. It's one game after another in a minute. So I want to try and get a Brighton fan on. And unfortunately today our Chelsea fan couldn't make it, which was a shame. But hopefully I can get a Brighton fan organised for. When's that game? Tuesday, isn't it? Tuesday. Is it Tuesday night?
I think a lot of them. I think it's Tuesday. Yeah, I think it's Tuesday.
Yeah, so I might try and do that maybe.
I can't be thinking about that at the moment. I'm just worried about this game.
Well, yeah, I'm just planning ahead really for the show. But yeah, just get this game out of the way first, and then we can worry about that. So yeah, I'll be doing a watch. I'll be on about 5:15, and I say Melvyn will be on Ryan's show as well, which I think is going out about 5 o'clock. I think they're going live. So plenty of options to watch the game. Watch us and watch the game as well at the same time. And so thanks to Melvyn as well for some great memories as well. Of course, as always, it's always a pleasure going through all this stuff with you because you've got some fantastic memories of times gone by, maybe better times as well. Even when we lost games before, it seemed better times. I think so. But anyway, I'm sure the good times will return. Where can people find you now, Melvyn? Just obviously, I know you're going to be on Ryan's channel later on.
Find me on the channel with Ryan. I'm normally on that, and also Melvyn, the only way is Arsenal. Mark's on Twitter. But I love doing this show. I love it with you. I love it. It's just great getting all the memories back. It's just fantastic. Thanks for inviting me on. It's perfect for me. Shame we've got to watch a game there. You know what I mean? But
I know, yeah, it's kind of ruined it, isn't it? We have great fun talking about all the previous games, and then we have to watch the
brilliant.
The good thing is, I suppose, in years' time when we do these later on, the games from this season, we'll never remember them. We'll just forget them. They'll be pushed away. Yeah. We won't talk about them again, will we? I suppose, but we'll still go back to all the great games from the past that we talk about. But it's always a pleasure having you on. It's always great to hear your stories and some great memories as well. And I'm sure we'll do it again very soon as we look forward to a lot of games coming up. Anyway, in the next few days, always busy time at Christmas. Don't seem to do anything else. Just watch football and talk about football and then go to sleep and do it again. But hopefully there's a good performance today to look back on anyway. That'd be nice for a change. So say thanks for watching. Tune back in later on for the watch alongs. And as always, as we hit towards a massive game in a couple of hours time, come on, you Gunners, come on, performance today, please. Come on, let's do it. Come on.